that are prepared along with those evaluations that are given of the speeches. We also do table topics or impromptu speaking challenges, as we usually have a humorist with a joke as well. We don't have a humorist on the schedule today, but we have reserved time at the end for table topics. So if you're a guest here or you're brand new to Toastmasters, the participation in table topics is completely optional. You don't have to feel obligated to do it, but if you wanted to give it a try, please let us know. Our main event for today is a workshop on hybrid meetings, as in meetings that include both in-person and online participants. Our workshop leader today, DTM David Carr, says hybrid meetings can either be the best of both worlds or the worst of both worlds. We work hard at making our hybrid meetings a good experience for everyone, and David has been a big part of that. Thank you, David. David is a writer and editor who works in the technology industry, currently in media relations for the digital analytics company SimilarWeb. Previously, he was a technology journalist, and he is the author of the book Social Collaborations for Dummies, which is about collaboration technologies for the workplace. He has spoken at technology conferences in Lisbon, Berlin, and Stockholm. In Toastmasters, David is known as the founding president of Online Presenters Toastmasters, which was chartered in 2017, with the mission of helping speakers master the online medium for webinars, online education, and online business. During the pandemic, he helped Club Awesome and many other clubs learn how to function in the Zoom environment. As the pandemic came to a close, he also helped the clubs make a transition to hybrid meetings to allow for both in-person and online participation. He also trained other clubs how to handle the tech setup when he isn't here. The title of his workshop is Better Hybrid Meetings for Work and Play. Better does not mean perfect. We don't claim that Club Awesome's hybrid meetings are perfect, but we work at making them a good experience for everyone in the room as well as everyone in Zoom land. Please welcome our workshop leader, DTM David Carr.
All right. Thank you, Tricia. Welcome, everyone, in person and online. I wish the in-person part was a little bit bigger. I've admitted that already. We'll talk about that a bit. But we're here to talk about meetings that mix online and in-person participation, and why it's difficult. And it's certainly not just an issue for Toastmasters. It's an issue for business as well. It's an issue for nonprofit groups. It's an issue for all sorts of organizations. Now, part of what happened over the past couple of years is we did have this pandemic, which forced a lot of organizations online, but it also introduced them to the possibilities of collaboration at a distance that many of them hadn't explored previously, or at least not to the same extent. So everybody got some experience with video meetings, whether it was Zoom or another tool. And the more commonplace hybrid meetings that we have today, they're kind of a byproduct of that. Now, I have to say that COVID-19 was great for online presenters. That's the Toastmasters Club that I founded in 2017 that is dedicated to learning skills that you need for webinars and online events of all sorts. So we started it for positive reasons, but when the whole world was forced online, we actually became very popular. Club membership was up at 60+ at some point. We got our club leaders invited to speak at clubs and districts all over the world about how to do hybrid. Now, seriously, you know, those were good times for that club, sort of, but I missed this. I missed being in person with all the people in this room, with the roaring laughter and applause that you get. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to work at taking this more seriously, but I did miss the in-person experience. I've been coming to Club Awesome almost every Friday since 2010 because I liked that idea of starting my day with laughter and applause and a group of people who are trying to make themselves better. And so when we came to the end of the pandemic, we had been meeting online for a while, but we decided to go to this hybrid format. And part of the reason initially was that we had some members who were maybe older or had health concerns, and we thought they might be a little bit more hesitant. They might come back to doing stuff in the room a little bit slower than other people. And so we wanted to allow room for that. We also had attracted some members who were outside the local area. A prime example of that would be Paolo Barone, who you're going to hear from a little bit later. Paolo originally started our meetings. He was living in Miami, periodically flying back to his home country of Italy. He can explain what he does for a living better than I can, but he arranges for custom suits to be made and imported. Ironically, we didn't meet him in person until he moved all the way back to Italy. But he comes to the South Florida on business on a fairly regular basis. And when he's here, he does try and come in person because he also values the in-person experience and getting to know people in person, getting to speak on a stage or whatever kind of stage you want to call this, rather than just over Zoom. But he values the Zoom experience as well. Now, what is it about online or hybrid that maybe is not quite the same? Why do people say that they have Zoom fatigue? Why do some people in Toastmasters talk as though online and hybrid is, you know, everything that's wrong with Toastmasters? If we get rid of online and hybrid and we could go back to doing everything like in the good old days, then Toastmasters would be back to its former glory. But you know, there are some trade-offs. Many of you are used to the practice of muting your microphone, except when you're supposed to speak, right? So that means the laughter and applause doesn't come through quite as clearly. So I do want to acknowledge that hybrid meetings can be awful. We try to make them the best of both worlds, but they can also be the worst of both worlds. Those of you who are in Toastmasters have probably had some mixed experiences with hybrid events. A lot of contests were held in a hybrid format over the past couple of years, with probably kind of mixed results. I bet you have an example from the workplace, I certainly do, of a hybrid meeting that was not run particularly well. I just do want to show you that this is part of my work life. This is my regular Wednesday meeting with the corporate marketing team at SimilarWeb, where I'm in South Florida. The gentleman in the upper left, who is our video leader, Robin, is in the UK. And the people in the conference room are in Tel Aviv, Israel. I've only met them once in person, a few of them. And so these meetings tend to work pretty well because I'm not the only one who's online, but I'm also not one of dozens where it's hard for me to make my presence felt to the people in the room. But the business world has noticed that hybrid meetings often are not wonderful. The headline on Fast Company is "Your hybrid meetings still suck." Although they do suggest some ways of making them better. One of the things they suggest actually is that you have somebody in charge of managing the meeting who's in the online part of the meeting, who can relay what's going on to the people in the room, who can be in charge of keeping those people engaged and happy. And so technology is important. I'm going to talk a little bit about the technical setup that we use and some of the elements of it, because exactly what you use, what you might spend some money on, may vary. It may vary based on the setup of the room. I mean, if we were meeting in a corporate meeting room that was already set up with lovely video conference equipment, it wouldn't be that much of an issue. But you're going to see that we bring our own equipment into the room and set it up. We have some materials here, and I'm actually going to show you our room in just a moment. So technology is important, but meeting leadership, club leadership, organizational leadership are also tremendously important. When you're dealing with that mix of people who are in person and online, you, as the person in the room, need to make a conscious effort to engage with the people online as evenly as possible as the people in the room. Just, a simple matter of going back and forth, of taking time to actually call on people who are online, as well as just people who are in the room, and may be able to make their presence felt a little bit easier. I do want to tell you a couple of my hybrid meeting horror stories. I want you to think of your own. I wanted to ask for maybe a couple of volunteers if you've experienced hybrid meetings that were less than wonderful. I ask you to let me know in just a minute. Let me share two examples. One is from SimilarWeb. As I said, usually those meetings are pretty good. When we have a whole marketing department meeting, sometimes I can't see too well some of the participants. They'll be sitting at a big horseshoe-shaped table, and the chief marketing officer will be way down the end, a little dot down there on my screen. And so it is a little bit harder to engage with the people than if you were in the room. But the meeting that I think of that was probably the worst was one where making it hybrid was an afterthought. There was a presenter coming into the New York office, and someone just basically slapped a laptop down on a desk somewhere and aimed the webcam kind of vaguely at the presenter. Those of us who were online couldn't hear him because he wasn't mic'd up in any way. And the camera position was such that we actually wind up looking at his butt through most of the meeting. It was actually, the camera was actually behind where he decided to stand and present. In a previous corporate job, I was often in meetings where I was the only remote participant. So this is a few years, pre-COVID. I think maybe one of the good parts, if it's a good part of COVID, was that everybody got a little bit of experience at being long distance and had a little bit, hopefully came out of it with a little bit more sympathy. But at that time, they really kind of treated me very much as an afterthought. And I would have people in the room who are writing on a whiteboard, and you can't really see what's going on a whiteboard through the webcam, or people in the room having conversations that I wasn't a part of. And so it was a poor experience. I did want to ask for a couple of your stories. Does anybody have a story of a hybrid meeting or event that was less than wonderful? We don't have that many people here. Do you have one, True? Oh, Jim Galt.
I've been a Toastmaster for quite a while now, and I've set up hybrid meetings, and I've I've helped with hybrid meetings and I've attended them. And when they work, they can be wonderful, but they are so hard to organize. It's tough to get the equipment and all of these things working in line because you need a good internet connection. That is the biggest issue that I've seen out there. The second issue is echo, when there's too much going on and nobody can hear anything that's going on. And those are the times where hybrid meetings just seem to fall apart. There's no cohesive part to it. It takes a team to do a hybrid meeting effectively. One person, it's just too much to do, especially if you have to run the show, if so to speak. If you're a Toastmaster and you're trying to deal with all that, or you have another role in a meeting, it falls apart unless it's very well organized. And that's the issue I see with hybrid meetings.
Okay.
We've tried it, but we decided in our club that Zoom was the way to go. We can bring people in from all over the place, and trying to do it in a hybrid environment, it's tough to get people to show up. I think that's my issue with hybrid.
Yeah. And Jim mentioned, oh, Chris also was volunteering.
Just one simple story and a hybrid meeting where a lot of the content of the meeting was Q&A from the live audience, and the online audience couldn't hear it at all.
Right.
So sound is a huge issue. I used to give a lot of in-person big audience talks, and I was pretty good at always repeating the question for a live audience. I think maybe that's something that needs to be learned for the online as well, unless you have really good microphones that catch everybody in the audience, which I know you'll talk about.
Okay. All right. And actually, Jim and Chris Gold were guest speakers at this last Friday of the month special event last month, talking about YouTube. We came into the room and realized that there was no Wi-Fi. So we're in a facility that normally has pretty good Wi-Fi. It supports a decent internet connection. That's what we're using right now. But I ran downstairs. Why is there no Wi-Fi? Well, it turned out it was out to the entire building. It wasn't. We've come here other times where somebody had turned off the router, and we had to try and track down somebody who could turn it back on. But on this occasion, we had to try and run the entire meeting off of phone Wi-Fi hotspots, and it was a little shaky. It was a little shaky. We got through it. Maybe I'll take a moment actually to cover a couple of things about audio that I wanted to fit in here somewhere. Because, yeah, audio is really probably more important than video quality. I'll talk about a recommended solution is using a good USB speakerphone. Depending on the configuration of your room, it may be the all-in-one solution that is able to pick up all the sound from the presenter as well as from the audience. They can do a pretty good job. We do have some wireless microphone gadgets, and I'm going to show them to you in a moment, that are kind of pricey, actually. We purchased them because we were having issues with people online not being able to hear well enough. It was one of those technology debugging issues where it turned out eventually that we were solving the wrong problem. That there was another issue that we needed to resolve regarding the laptop that we were using at the time. But we wound up with these very nice wireless microphones. The most important rule about audio is there should be only one hot mic in the room at a time. And actually, I was trying to set up a device to give a view of the room earlier, and I was having trouble with it connecting to the audio when I didn't want it to. What happens routinely is somebody will come into the room and they will open their laptop and they'll want to get into Zoom, either because they want to see the chat, or maybe they have a slide to show or something like that. And we will get echo, we will get distortion, because there are multiple microphones and multiple speakers in the room connected to Zoom. And I definitely see this in the workplace too, where people walk into the conference room, they open their laptop, they join Zoom. The way around it is there is an option. If you click on the microphone icon, there is an option called Leave Computer Audio, which will allow you to connect with the visuals, but not with the audio. And also, at least one meeting leader in the room should have the ability to mute anybody or everybody at all. And I see this a lot too, is that meetings are run by the person who doesn't have the code or the access to get the host controls. And so they can't mute the person. They can't mute the microphone of the participant in a work meeting who has a dog barking in the background or a baby crying, and the meeting is disrupted for that reason. Regarding not having your audio on in a Zoom meeting, there is also an option where you can say, you can uncheck the option to automatically join by computer audio every time you join Zoom. And then you would have to click the button that says join with computer audio. Otherwise, you will not. And so, what we want to have in the room is that the main computer microphone is coming from the main host computer. Now I'm going to take you on a little bit of a tour of our facility here, both the physical setup and the tech in just a moment. So let's see. Need to do. And this probably is a case of me trying to do too many things at once. But where is it? It's that feed. Oh, I'm not in here as host. Trisha, can you try and pin this video feed?
Sure.
And
then turn it upside down.
why is everything upside down? That I didn't expect. Hold on a moment. Let's see. I've never seen that before. Okay, well, we'll do it this way. This is our meeting room. Welcome to the Panthers Ice Den. This is the ice skating rink in Coral Springs, Florida, where the Florida Panthers, that's the Stanley Cup winning Florida Panthers win. And we also have figure skaters out on the ice here. And we have lots of room. We have lots of empty room here, I'm afraid. We have Trisha sitting where I usually sit, over by the tech, and I'm going to show you a little bit more about the tech in just a moment. I did want to take a walk around and look at breakfast. Now I said that one of the things that we're trying to do here is make sure that we provide a good experience for everyone, both online and in person. So why do we provide breakfast? Well, it's because we want people to be in person if they can be. And this is that good spread that you're missing out on. And so maybe it's a little bit unfair to the online participants that we have breakfast in the room. I have heard of workplaces that have decided that if they're holding an online meeting and there's going to be food for the people in the room, that they're going to get DoorDash for everybody else. I'm afraid we don't have that in the budget, so don't be waiting for DoorDash to come ringing your doorbell. But here's our technical setup. I mentioned the wireless microphone. It's a little unit like this. This can actually be clipped to your clothing. We have a setup that allows two of these microphones, actually. They plug together into this little base unit. Is that spotlighted for everybody, you know, or?
Yeah, this.
Okay. So the base unit is taking microphones. So this is actually a setup that video journalists will use sometimes to conduct interviews. So you could have one of these microphones for the interviewer and one for the interview subject. So we have one computer that is our master control. The particular computer that I'm using right now, the laptop, only has two USB ports. So we actually have this device called a USB extender or port extender that is helping to give us a little bit more reach so we can plug in more gadgets. For video, we have an external webcam mounted on a tripod. And we got a nice quality tripod so that we could pan a little bit. If the speaker wants to walk around the room, we can keep up with them. We do also have a USB speakerphone. See, that is here. And as I said, that can be a good all-in-one solution. The audio problems that we were having that prompted us, you can drop the spotlight, please. The audio problems that we were having that prompted us to get the wireless mics actually turned out to have nothing to do with the audio equipment or the speakerphone. It was something to do with maybe a sound card in the laptop that we were using. But by the time we figured that out, we had bought the very nice microphones. Actually, there's one other detail that I didn't cover, which is that we have this very nice projection screen over here. Trisha, can you pan a little bit to show the projection screen? And so we have an HDMI cable plugged into the laptop. It's actually just snaking up towards the room. So it's actually a little bit sloppy in terms of wiring. We did have an IT professional come in and started talking to me about cable management, and it needs to be neater, but it works. It works more or less. Now, I've been talking for a long time now. I wanted to ask Paolo Barone, who actually is the person who has been working on me to highlight the hybrid nature of this club as a virtue. Paolo, could you share a little bit of something about your experience with the hybrid meetings in Club Awesome?
Thank you, David. Good morning, my fellow Toastmasters, Club Awesome Toastmasters, and early birds Toastmasters in the room, also in the Zoom room, and welcome guests, of course.
You just muted yourself.
All right, was I muted for the entire opening? Or just now? Just to start all over again?
Just the last few words.
All right. I was saying, good morning to you all. Good afternoon here in Italy. 6 hour forward is a little bit past 1 p.m. Therefore, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening if there is someone for another completely different time zone. In today's world, being an effective communicator means being able to effectively communicate in person and online. No doubts about that. The world has changed. Going from being a great speaker in person to also being a great speaker online, that doesn't happen automatically. You need, in my opinion, an additional set of skills to go from being great in person to also being great online. Examples: eye contact. An effective eye contact in person, you all know, happens by scanning the entire audience, the entire room, looking into someone 2-3 seconds from left to right. Online is a completely different story. An effective eye contact happens when your eyes are the whole time in front of that little hole right there in the webcam. You can't wander around anywhere. The whole time, your eyes must be toward the webcam. Another example, gestures. When you are in person, you can afford to have ample, generous hand gestures, body movements. Online, you have to restrain, contain myself. And for me, being used to be all over the place, I always have to remember to restrain myself and to not go that wide with the gestures. Another example, I can go on and on. Another example, body movements. In person, you have a stage pretty wide. You go from left to right, back, forward. Online, your stage is limited. You can move a little bit, you can go back, forward. Anyway, these examples is to make my point and to prove that you need an additional set of skills to go from great speaker in person to great speaker online. And therefore, an hybrid Toastmasters meeting gives you the opportunity and the platform to learn, to practice, and to polish this additional set of skills. Therefore, it's a tremendous opportunity. Personally, I started my online Toastmasters journey, like most of us, during the pandemic. I was a member only one club back then when the pandemic hit us. At the beginning, I was very skeptical about it. I hated Zoom. I hated speaking online. I couldn't focus on the camera. Anything behind the camera, beyond it, was distracting me. I hated it. I hated it. As a matter of fact, I took more than a month off. I didn't join any meeting. I didn't do any Toastmasters, nothing. Then I say, all right, let me check it out again. And I realized that, wait a minute, yes, it's different, but there are also opportunities there. There is opportunity to expand your horizon. There's an opportunity to be anywhere in the world, any time of the day. And there is opportunity to reach beyond your location, your Toastmasters club. Therefore, I started embracing it. I started to study the whole logistics, and I started to train really hard to be a decent online presenter as well. Therefore, I invested in the right equipment and everything else that it takes to be a good presenter online. I visited a lot of clubs all over the world. I've been at most in every country of the world online. And I ended up joining more than one club. Right now, I'm a member, an active member of 7 different Toastmasters clubs. And the only reason I'm able to do that is because of the hybrid online platform. I'm a member of 4 hybrid Toastmasters clubs, plus 1 club only in person and 1 club only online, Early Birds Toastmasters. 2 clubs here in Italy, Rome and Milan, and 4 clubs there in the States. Therefore, I can tell you I have quite a good experience as far as different formats, different logistics, different clubs they're offering. Now, I believe Club Awesome is not perfect. It's not perfect hybrid Toastmasters club, but in my opinion, is one of the best hybrid clubs around. No doubts about that. That's coming from someone that's been everywhere and visited a lot of clubs. What makes Club Awesome so special? Well, because he has what it takes for a hybrid club to work the right way, the right equipment. You need the right equipment, like David mentioned earlier. You gotta have the right camera. You gotta have the right mic. You gotta have the right setting. It takes a lot of equipment, the right equipment, the patient to set it up before the meeting, the patient to put it away at the end of the meeting. Takes all that. Why? Because the key of a successful hybrid meetings is to make sure that the audience online and the audience in person are perfectly integrated one with the other. It's important that the people online, they don't feel left out for the meeting. It's important that the people online can listen, hear very well and clearly what happens in person. It's important that the people online are able to see what happens in the room. Therefore, it's important, like we have a Club Awesome, a camera pointed for the entire duration of the meeting, pointed at the audience. Therefore, it's important to provide a full experience to people online. And it is important for the audience in the room to have a great visual of the people online, meaning a big screen right there located in the right place, so that everybody in the room can see who is online. Everybody in the room can see the facial expressions of the people being online. Because it's not just, it's not enough to look at the gallery view. You have to be able to see the expressions, the facial expressions of the people online. If they are smiling, if they are crying, if they are falling asleep, because then we are able to calibrate our performance as speaker presenters to what happens online. Therefore, the key is a full integration between online audience and in-person audience. That's the key of a successful hybrid meeting. I believe a Club Awesome will reach a pretty good level of integration. Again, these areas of improvement is not perfect, but we are way ahead of most of the clubs around. And let me tell you, thanks to the gentleman right there, DTM David Carr. That's this DTM card that makes the difference. He, way ahead of a lot of other people, was already a leader there, an online presenter, everything, and it really goes above and beyond to make sure that Club Awesome is a successful hybrid meetings. He put together the right equipment. He patiently comes earlier to make sure everything is assembled correctly. Therefore, we owe, Club Awesome owes the success as hybrid meeting to DTM Car. I joined the Club Awesome online when I was living permanently there in the States. Then my family and I, we moved here 3 years ago. And the first time I went in person to Club Awesome, it was already when I moved here. And I commute now back and forth every other month from Italy because of my business, because my clients, my business is there. Yes, we moved here physically, but my business is there in the States. Therefore, I commute every other month. Now, when I'm there, I could easily and comfortably join, because I'm in Miami when I'm there. A Coral Spring, where Club Awesome is located, is 45 minutes from where I am when I'm in Miami. I could easily log in my pajamas, 7 o'clock in the morning, and just be part of it. No, I drive there every Friday, 45 minutes. Therefore, I get up 5 a.m., 6 a.m. I'm on the road to be sure I'm on time there at 7 a.m. meeting. Why do I do that? Because you need to become a polished speaker, an effective presenter in a hybrid settings. You need to polish and practice every aspect of it. And I'm referring to the stage. When you are presenting in person in a hybrid meeting, you have to know exactly where the stage is there, where the stage online is, the boundaries of the stage online. Therefore, you need to practice to recognize every time before speaking where the online stage is to make sure you don't go off camera, number one. Number two, you have to be able to perfectly switch from eye contact of the audience in person to eye contact to the people online. So when you're speaking in a hybrid meetings in person, you can't keep the eyes always on the camera because you can't neglect the people in the room. And vice versa, you can't keep your eyes entirely on the audience in person because then you neglect the people on camera. Therefore, you have to practice to find the right balance as far as the eye contact between the people in the room and the people online. You have to be able to switch smoothly from in person to online in person. Therefore, that's an important skill, and you have to practice for that to make sure it's not too little and not too much. Therefore, it's worth to me drive the 45 minutes because that's an area that I need to practice and I take advantage of it. I drive the 45 minutes and practice the skill. Beside, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to see in person the members of Club Awesome. It's my way to recognize the hard work David Carr does. Therefore, it's my pleasure, it's an honor every time there to greet him, to shake his hands, and to tell him thank you. He does a lot for us. 45 minutes to drive there, it's nothing. Absolutely, he deserves it. And everybody in Club Awesome is a wonderful member. I don't know the timing. If you want to stop, I stop. Otherwise, I can go. Do I have more time? You tell me.
I think you could wrap it there, Paolo. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll wrap it up. Let me conclude. As you know, a presentation speech is an opening and a conclusion. I go with the conclusion. All right. My fellow Toastmasters, the world has changed. The way we communicate has changed. And Toastmasters has changed. Therefore, let's embrace the change and let's make the best out of it. Back to you, DTM Carl.
Right. Thank you, Paolo. I feel like these are workshops. This is the Dave soaks up the praise workshop. Tell me how wonderful I am. But Paolo's pretty wonderful too. Could I ask everybody to please unmute for a moment and give Paolo a round of applause? Yeah, we're trying to get applause in the room. Okay. It is challenging in this format. I want to tag on to something Paolo said about splitting your attention between the people online and the people in the room. One metaphor or idea I've come across is to think of the camera as a VIP at your event. So the camera is a very important person. You want to pay a lot of attention to the camera. You want to come in close and look at the camera. But you don't want to neglect the entire rest of the audience either. But the camera represents multiple people. So yeah, it's a very important object in the room for you to give some eye contact to. One of the things we talked about is the tech setup. I guess probably the biggest element of success, if you are in a club that is thinking about doing hybrid or moving towards doing hybrid, somebody needs to get into the meeting room a little bit early to set things up. Partly because some things go wrong. That's one reason that I'm a little bit flustered today, is several things have gone wrong. Let me detail them for you. The laptop that we normally use to run these meetings is a beat up old laptop that I kind of donated or bartered into the club that has the virtue of having 3 USB ports, and we need 3 ports for all our gadgets. Well, I came in this morning, I turned the computer on, and it decided not to recognize any of the gadgets plugged into any of the USB ports. It's done that once or twice before. Usually I reboot and it straightens itself out. Today, it did straighten itself out. So that's why I showed you I have this USB extender gadget, or this port extender gadget, that allows me to plug into one port of a laptop. So I had to swap in my work laptop, plug in all these gadgets, and try and get things working. And I got here very early this morning to try and prepare, because we were going to have a full room with lots of members here and hopefully some guests. I did talk to some guests on the phone who said they would be here in person. Where are they? I don't know. But that's the reason we had breakfast, is to try and get people into the room. It's not working this week. So that's another thing that we have to debug along the way. I did want to open things up for some Q&A or some discussion.
It's fine. You're fine.
Okay, I'm sorry, the screen just went blank and we thought everything had died. Speaking of things going right, Carol Lee.
How much was your wireless microphone setup? I do recall that earlier you said it was a little pricey or a little expensive. I'm just curious if you remember. Was it several hundred, 1,000?
No, it wasn't 1,000, but it was a couple of hundred. I will send out after the meeting some links to these things, but and my friend in online presenters Toastmasters, Graham Cairns, who's our former radio announcer from Australia, really likes the Rode Wireless Go. I know he found a cheaper wireless microphone on Amazon that he decided to use instead for some of his clubs. So there are trade-offs to everything, but it is a very nice setup. It does cost a couple of $100. We bought a laptop for the club, and as I said, that was the laptop that turned out not to work, which is why we're using my beat up old laptop, which maybe is also dying. And so maybe in the coming year, we'll have to spend a little bit more money. Now, you know, but the other way to do it is you can have a person in the club who is the techie who brings all the equipment into the meeting. But what happens when that person can't be there, right? So we wanted to have a computer and microphone and everything we needed in the equipment locker that we're able to keep at this location. So that if I can't be here, particularly if I can't be here at the last minute, turns out I can't be here, I've been run over by a truck. And Tricia can pull out the equipment and, you know, she's been through the process of you. How much fun is it to set up the equipment when I'm not here, or does it rattle you at this point?
I'm
or
making
you
a challenge to myself. Yeah, like it's like, let's see if we could do this in under 10 minutes and then I just go for it. So
Yeah, I mean, the under 10 minutes thing is not a great idea. I mean, I do try and get here at least 20 minutes before, 30 minutes before. Today I was here like an hour before because we were gonna have this huge event and I was gonna have everything set up so that it would be exemplary and impress all of you. And I'm not quite sure I quite got there.
Elmer had a question, I think, earlier. I don't know if you,
Somebody else have a question?
Elmer,
Elmer?
he put his hand out.
Yeah, I think I kind of heard the answer, but I'll repeat my question, which is what is the setup time for the equipment, both setup time and takedown time that you're comfortable with?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it in 10 minutes, but that's because we've had practice doing it for a while and I don't like to do it that way. I mean, we like to be online in the Zoom meeting at least 10-15 minutes early, so that people sign in early, they're not just looking at a blank screen. So really probably 30 minutes ahead of time would be a lot safer, particularly if you're just getting started with it and getting used to setting it all up in the time frame. So it does, that is definitely one of the considerations if you're deciding you want to move in this direction. You know, again, if we were walking into a corporate meeting room that was already equipped for all this, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Although, you know, I've joined meetings at work where people couldn't figure out how to use the fancy equipment. Any other questions or comments? All right, we
I
have
have
time,
one.
reserved some time at the end for table topics. Our topics master is currently not here.
I wrote some.
You
I
wrote
have one
some?
question,
Okay.
David.
Tricia Jervis, our club president, will lead us in a few table topics, and then we'll wrap after that. Please welcome Tricia Jervis.
Thank you, David. Thank you all so much. And I do feel kind of far away back here, but I hope everyone can see okay. Please pin, it's a little late for me to be saying that, but pin the speaker if you do have trouble seeing us. I wanted to begin with Toastmasters table topics. And I believe our timer is Andy Byrne, DTM Byrne. Are you still up for being the timer on table topics?
Yes, I can do that.
All right. All right. So for the uninitiated, table topics are impromptu speaking opportunities that you get 1 to 2 minutes in order to answer a question or evade the question. You really can do whatever you want with that 1 to 2 minutes. So I'm gonna share a few different questions here related to technology. I don't have a whole lot, but we can even repeat them. It's no big deal. And most of our participants are gonna come from the online space. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose someone to answer this first question, which is tech pet peeves. Say that 3 times fast. Tech pet peeves. Do you have any? What are they? And since we've covered Zoom kind of like, generally, think of something outside of Zoom, anything in your life, tech pet peeves. Let's go with, well, since we're practically all guests, if any guests would like to participate, please put your raised hand up and I can call on you. But I'm going to start with Mike Caserta. Mike Caserta, tech pet peeves.
Thank you, Madam Topic Master. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. I would have to say that my biggest tech pet peeve is that when I call a help center, which I really hate to do, I prefer to deal online, either with a chat or whatever. But it seems that whenever I get a person, a real person, that their first solution is to turn the machine off and then turn it back on. I mean, I've heard that one so many times, and they act like they're telling me some, a fantastic revelation. Oh my gosh, here's this great technique you can use. Just turn off your computer and turn it back on. And I have to admit, once in a while that works, but I kind of find it very intellectually lazy that a person would actually give that as the solution, because I would guess that probably 90% of the people that are calling in have already tried a number of things, including turning their computer on and off, just to see if it works. So I would say, help centers around the world, they make it so hard for us to actually reach a real person, which I guess is even a bigger pet peeve, that when you finally get a real person and their first solution is, turn off your computer, like they're a genius. It seems that, if you're paying for that solution, I got to believe that you're probably not overly satisfied with what the response is that you're getting. So there you have it. Getting help when you need it makes people very self-sufficient, knowing that they're probably not going to get it when they need it. Back to you, Madam Topic Master.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Yes, that kind of reminds me of the idea of when I was younger and we had video games with cartridges and everybody swore you got to blow into the cartridge. That's how you get it to reset when it's messing up. And I guess it turns out that that's completely a myth. I don't believe that. I believe that blowing into them helps somehow. I don't know the mechanics, but yeah, that's how sometimes restarting your computer is sort of this placebo effect sometimes that gets your technology back up and running. Thank you so much, Mike. All right, our next question. There's a lot of tech out there coming up with new things all the time. I was actually just looking at the camera and wondering, how can we incorporate that new motion sensor device that you plop underneath the camera and then let it do the tracking for you? That's a new piece of equipment that they have out there, and lots of other things. But when it comes to technology, what is one piece of technology or idea in technology that you would just rather ignore? Not your cup of tea. You're going to leave that to the others, to the specialists, to the next generation, whatever your reason. What's a tech that you are happily ignoring? Any volunteers for that one? How about Jim Gould? Jim, do you mind answering that question?
Sure. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests out here. It is amazing that you would ask me this question. There is no tech that I do not love. I love every part of technology. Every piece of equipment that I have here is important to me, because without all of this tech, I would not even be here. Now, you don't need all of this tech in order to make this stuff work, but but it really does help if you do have some tech. And whenever it goes wrong, you have to do something about it. And I just don't. See, I just muted myself. It's amazing how that happens. Just pushing buttons. Technology is what makes this whole thing work. I have cameras all over here. I have microphones wherever I need one. I can show the timing light underneath my screen. How many people can do that? I mean, really. And when we have a Toastmasters meeting, I can have and I can how much more could anybody want? Technology is what makes this whole thing work. I've been in technology since, well, the late 70s. I got my first computer in 1978. I was a technology geek. I'm still a geek on tour. Madam General Evaluator, or whatever you are.
Right now, it's the Table Topics Master. Thank you, Jim. All right. All right, so when it comes to technology, Jim is all in. There's nothing that could go into a bad place with technology as far as Jim is concerned. All right, last question I have. Now, we are closing up the Toastmaster year, and as you all know, once you get online, toastmaster.org, around this time of year, you tend to experience some issues. You may have also seen issues elsewhere on the tm.org website or in any other dealings you've had. Maybe you've found certain communication avenues a little less impressive than others. But have you thought about what kind of tech you think Toastmasters could take advantage of? Something that could either improve the website or anything that you think Toastmasters should really start trying to invest more in? That's a kind of specific question, but maybe you've thought about it. Any volunteers for that one? I see Elmer smiling, and I feel like it's because he has an answer.
Madam Toast Topics Master. Yes, I do have an answer.
All right.
The tech that I would like to see Toastmasters adopt is one that we probably are all using in our jobs in one way or another. And that's something called, let me see, there's a couple of solutions. There is an Adobe solution for doing Adobe documents online, including signatures. That would be a great thing to have for chartering new clubs, as an example. There is something called, I think it's DocuSign, that would make signing documents really easy and painless. Thinking about things like our club forms, our membership forms, those type of things are very well suited for something like DocuSign or the Adobe version of the same product. And we could do a little back-end work so that we could capture some of the intelligence that comes with those documents. So I see that as a thing that we could adopt in Toastmasters relatively easily, without a lot of additional cost, because there's ways that organizations like Toastmasters can get some very attractive nonprofit pricing for those kind of products. So that's my answer. Something like a DocuSign or the equivalent from Adobe to help us with managing our paper and email documents. Back to you, Madam Topics Master.
All right. Thank you so much, Elmer. That's right. That is something that you see a lot in technology. I work for a software company that also incorporates DocuSign in some of their documentation. And how many things are we constantly sending back and forth in an email to be signed? And how are people signing it? Generally, they're printing it, they're signing it, they're taking pictures. Are those pictures always great? Probably not. So it would be great to have something digital to sort of bridge that gap between the real world and signatures that are needed and technology. Thank you all so much for your time in this table topic segment. I hope you appreciate it and learned something even through that. Sometimes table topics can really be eye-opening, and you bring up things that you never thought you'd hear about or learn about. And so it's great to take the opportunity to try to even become more flexible in your own thinking when you choose to answer a question, even if you didn't think you had an answer to that question. All right. Well, we didn't take a break, but I don't know that we necessarily need that at the moment. I think what I will go ahead and do is turn it over to our general evaluator. I did fail to introduce some of our functionaries at the beginning of the meeting. So I would like to have some of those called upon through the general evaluator. After that, I'm gonna just give a few announcements for Club Awesome, which you guys are totally allowed to hang out and listen to. You're invited. That'll come up next. But first, I will turn it over to Christine Campbell, our general evaluator. Christine.
Thank you so very much. Bravo, bravo. Everybody that spoke, absolutely incredible. And I want to say, welcome our guests. You are so important to us, and it was wonderful that you took the time to listen and learn from our Mr. David Carr, distinguished Toastmaster, and a positive leader when it comes to moving forward with technology. It is a thrill to have many guests, and one I knew from another club a couple of years ago, and that was Miss Carol Lee. It was not wonderful to reconnect. And what was interesting, I asked her, how did she find this? And it was through Online Presenters. Online Presenters is the longest ongoing hybrid or internet only club going on around the world. I attended and I was a member for a short time, but it is something where they absolutely have the best. If you want a worldwide United Nations type thing, you have it there, right there, and they are experienced and gifted. So I appreciate Jim Geld and many others from online that also joined us. Carol said that she was online at another workshop from the gentleman from Australia that was putting on from Online Presenters, and that's how she found out about this workshop. So go for it. And it is the best of the best that you're having right here. Our entire meeting, I love David. He is a perfectionist. And if it doesn't go just right, you'll hear about it. And at the beginning, that's life. Now, I'm from the music industry where if the sound goes out or something there when I'm on stage or something performing, you just smile and you look like you don't even notice the difference. So little tweaking on that, but it is wonderful to have this meeting. It's important to have excellent communication when it comes on hybrid, because that is absolutely where it really is going to. When it comes down to any shutdowns or bad weather, we can still have a meeting. And that's what is important about this class and workshop that we had today. Now, you can also reach out to David Carr anytime personally, and I hope he puts his information in the chat. The reason is he also builds websites that you can have an alternative if you're not using the Toastmasters, you want to try something else with a new club, or you have a club, existing club. He has his own, which is absolutely beautiful. I chartered a separate club, an online club, but we use his program. So he is a gentleman and a scholar. Now, our president, Tricia Jervis, my story is I'm online. I live in Idaho. I'm 2 hours behind. When they meet at 5 in the morning, I'm up at 3 in the morning. to get stuff done if I'm doing a speech or something, and to be on at 5 my time. But it's worth it. I've never been in Toastmasters. When I heard about it 2 years ago at an event that I sponsored, someone came up and asked me if I knew about it. I, at that time, was wanting to learn leadership because I made some mistakes in my organization. I was feeling depleted. And when he said Toastmasters builds leaders and helps you there, I thought, I'm on board. Not only that, is I Googled, because my time frame's busy in the daytime. I Googled for something that was early in the morning, and East Coast would fit my 5 a.m. perfect time. And on Friday, that's when I had time. And it was Club Awesome, this very club that I joined. And the best part about it is it has been absolutely an incredible standard base, your anchor base to really dive in, because of all the professionals that can lead and guide. Trisha was my mentor. She was the first when I reached out. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know Toastmasters, and she was a wonderful mentor, and everyone was welcoming. And I ran into somebody on another Zoom that had belonged to 5 clubs, and she's out of Canada. And I followed her to all 5 clubs and joined all of them. So my first year was 8 clubs. So I could really dive in and learn how to be a leader, right? Learn how to do this. What I'm bringing this about is none of this could have happened if it wasn't for the hybrid, if it wasn't for David Carr really making sure we have great communication. We can see the speakers, we can see the room while I'm here in Idaho. That's how I got to meet everybody. I went on to area director and finishing up division director, so you can even be a leader while you are online. And you can do it. It's fun to fly in, which we did last year and had a wonderful reunion because it was like my family. I already knew my family there. And I'm looking in another year, maybe getting an apartment there so my husband and I can visit more in person with these wonderful clubs. What I want to overview with this meeting, it was a success with David, and you're going to have all kinds of oops and whatevers, but he handled it absolutely well. I loved our speakers that piped in. Now, Paolo and his wife are amazing from Italy. They were both competing on the district level in the international contest. And you saw their beautiful home in Italy and their darling 6 kids. We saw probably 4 of them back and forth. It was darling. It was heartfelt. It was real. It was a Toastmaster family experience. And thank you, Paolo. He teaches well with his wonderful presentation. He taught us how to use our hand gestures and everything while online. And that's why David purposely had him on there. And it was an excellent learning tool. On positioning, many of you, and I love the backgrounds, is another way to showcase. Now, we usually on Club Awesome, we have a theme every day, every week. And you can see that Mike Caserta has his 50th anniversary behind him. I was kind of rushing, so I just popped what was ever on there. And Mike, tomorrow is our 50th anniversary for Club Awesome, being in a club. And we're having a party. So that was very wonderful for him to put that up there to remind us. Dr. Byrne, Andy Byrne, has the 100-year anniversary that Toastmaster is. Can you believe Club Awesome is half of the time that Toastmasters was? I mean, that's really cool. And I encourage anybody to go online to watch the international convention. That's going to be in LA this year. It's a wonderful place to be. On our club, as general evaluator, I loved the table topics. Now, it is wonderful. I always see Trisha in person, and she's always amazed me with her knowledge, her intellect. But working with a crowd of people, when you don't volunteer, then she's waiting. She just volunteers, right? So she did that just wonderfully. And I loved those that popped on. Elmer Hill, you are amazing. I don't know what club, if you're from online presenters, but you had some really great talks. Each one you did. David Carr had his moments. And each of you that spoke, I sure do appreciate jumping in. That's what we do as leaders. We show up and we do the job regardless and make it work to make a fun environment. I always enjoy Jim and Chris Gold. They did a workshop at Club Awesome at our last month, and they are a joy to follow when it comes to techie, but also with their travels. Both of them at this age, they are scuba diving. Now, who does that, right? I think we need to start a new club for those over 60 or 50. Now I know you guys are only 49, right? But I'm 66, so I want to start a club and for those late bloomer scuba divers and have them teach us. What we also have is that this club meets at 7 a.m. on East Coast time every Friday morning. You're always welcome as a guest and a possibly potential member. Now we have online presenters. That is with David Carr and Jim Gold's in there, and I'm not sure who else is in there. But that is a wonderful club if it's online only. And then I just co-founded a club that is Superior Speakers Advanced, and we're online only. So it's coming all around the board to find a place. And if you live like in some place, go find an online club on the opposite side of the country and get to know a new family. You never know, when you go visit or tour and go on vacation, you'll already have a family base. There's many benefits to being online. With that, I'm going to conclude that this meeting was an incredible workshop. I've learned greatly. My least techie thing is tech, and it's something where I always help ask David to help me with my website, which I'm going to ask you after this meeting, just letting you know, with Superior Speakers. But each of you have made a difference today. Each of you, your input, the words that you said, the things that you put on chat, you made a difference. You inspired just by showing up. And I cannot say thank you enough, representing our club, Club Awesome, and next year's president. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I know that extends out with Trisha and those that are in the room and those that are members here with Club Awesome. Thank you. Back to you, David Carr.
Thank you, Christine. I'm actually gonna try wrapping up here, and just as Christine mentioned, tomorrow we're celebrating our 50th anniversary. Our technically our 50th anniversary for Club Awesome was in April, but it still means the whole year is our 50th anniversary, right? I couldn't pass up being able to celebrate that before I exited as president of Club Awesome. I wanted to make sure that we were, celebrated and that I shared that news, even if you can't make it. Just, being able to see a club like Club Awesome be around for 50 years. And I feel like it was right after they allowed women to enter Club Awesome. So it was really on the cusp of just the forefront of that integration. And so I just want to celebrate our members, our club. And so I will we'll be having an event tomorrow. I want to go around the room and find out where everyone is from real quick and get some info. I'd love for you guys to put your emails in the chat. And if you'd like to get an invitation for tomorrow's event, please go ahead and email president@clubawesome.org. That's president@clubawesome.org. And I will send you an invitation. All right, from my screen, the first person I have up is Jim Gould, and I know Jim is a Toastmaster. Jim, can you tell us a little bit about you, what club you belong to, and what brought you today?
Absolutely. I'm Jim Gould. I'm a competent Toastmaster. I'm working in several pathways. I have been the president of Early Bird Toastmasters for the past year and a half, maybe a little bit longer. I'm giving that up next week. I'll be our Sergeant at Arms. We meet every Thursday morning at 7 a.m. sharp and Zoom only.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. Next on my screen, I have Ron Olson. Good morning, Ron. Where are you from?
I am from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I belong to Tulsa Toastmasters Club 148. And this year in October, we will be celebrating 85 years.
Wow.
I was kind of one of the instigators in the hybrid format here in Oklahoma. So I had to see what your club was doing that you all were doing, because I'm always trying to improve ours.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Ron. I hope we see you again. Elmer, good morning. Elmer, where are you from?
Good morning. I am from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. That's District 117. I have an interest in this type of technology. Actually, I belong to 5 clubs, and I've helped a number of clubs set up their hybrid meetings. So this became a confirmation of some of the tips and techniques that I share with some of the clubs that I've helped. I've also helped a couple of districts handle hybrid technology for speech contests and for hybrid district events. So that's my background. I've been a Toastmaster for about 10 years now, have handled pretty much all roles from club Toastmaster member all the way up to being serving on the board of directors of Toastmasters. So it's great to be here with everyone.
All right, thank you for joining us, Elmer. We're having a real national meeting right now. Carol, in Texas, right?
That's correct.
All
Thanks
right.
for remembering. I am the current Vice President of Education of Fredericksburg Toastmasters and the incoming president. We have been a hybrid club for 3 years, and I'm always looking to improve how we conduct our meetings. So when David mentioned this earlier this week when I attended his other workshop, I was eager. It fits my schedule perfectly since I'm in Central Time Zone. It's before I start my workday. So thanks for hosting this workshop.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carol. It actually feels more natural that there would be more people online because you all who are conducting these hybrid meetings are all over the place, and you want to know how to run those meetings from another state and from elsewhere. So I really appreciate everyone from all these different areas coming to our club, because it really shows how integrated we can really be and how much we can share knowledge across the United States when it comes to technology. Christine.
Me?
Oh, Christine, just a quick.
Yeah, just real quick.
And
Club Awesome is my favorite. I did belong to 8 clubs, and one of them was Fredericksburg, Texas. It's good to see Carol Lee. I also belong to Club Voice, which Andy Byrne is in there as well. And I coach Harvard Superior Speakers Advanced, which we are having an accredited speaker workshop on July 17th. Cheryl Roush will be there to present that. And I just posted that information there. But I love Toastmasters. Back to you.
thank you, Christine. All right, next on my screen is Dr. Byrne. Dr. Byrne, if you want to give a few words.
Yeah, I started off with Club Awesome as my first club in 2012. I've been with it ever since, never missing a meeting that I can possibly go to. I moved in 2021 to Tampa, Florida, and I've maintained my relationship with Club Awesome through the value of the hybrid clubs. I value that. One of the clubs I belong to has decided to end its hybrid experience as of October 1st. So that club is now no longer to be on my roster because they're no longer to have that opportunity. But I think that, as Paulo said, there's a different skill set. And as you look at the workplace and where it's going, at least 25 to 1/3 of the workplace requires these skills. And our goal in communication is to help us develop all forms of communication, whether it's verbal, whether it's hybrid, whether it's online, whether it's blogging, vlogging, or podcasting. These are all forms of communication. And this is a way of developing all of them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Byrne. All right, Chris Gould.
Hi. Yes,
Hey.
I am at home in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, just about 20 minutes from your meeting place, which is we were able to make it live last week. And I'll bet you nobody can say they've been in Toastmasters longer than me. because I am currently 72 years old, and when I was 14, I was president of a junior Toastmasters club before they allowed women into Toastmasters. I
All
love
right.
Toastmasters.
Thank you so much, Chris. All right, Mike. Mike Caserta.
Mike Caserta, I'm in Delray Beach. I'm probably one of the people that should feel the most guilty about not showing up in person. I'm also about 45 minutes away from our meeting place, but for some reason, driving on I-95 at 6 in the morning doesn't appeal to me. One of these days I'll make it. I almost made it today, but I definitely will make it. I used to make it before we had hybrid, but hybrid really helped my participation in this club. Back to you, Madam
You're-
President.
You're so right, Mike. Mike actually holds the best attendance award like a few years in a row now, if I'm not mistaken. So he's right about that. Yvonne, I believe it is. Welcome, Yvonne. Are you a Toastmaster, and where do you hail from?
Yeah, I'm from Taipei, Taiwan, and currently I'm the Taiwanese language in Taipei, the Toastmaster in Taipei, the Taiwanese language. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, and thank you, Lodi, invite me to here. Yeah, to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. I see Zaldi, I think it is. Zaldi, can you say hello and tell us the Toastmaster Club you're a part of? I see it in the chat, but just for everyone online.
Sorry, I am from the Philippines. Everyone here is my family. Hope you understand what I said to you.
All right, thank you so much. And I hope you all come back and join us. Paolo, I could let you introduce yourself, but I think you did a pretty good job earlier explaining your details and when you joined and everything. But is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Thank you. Thank you. I started my Toastmasters journey in 2011, but was a member only one club until 2020. As I said, and I'm a member, an active member of 7 clubs, including Early Birds, Toastmasters, Boys, and other. This one was a great workshop. Thank you very much for everybody who put it together. Thank you for all the guests that attended this meeting. If you are considering joining Club Awesome, don't hesitate to join it. It's a great club. I've been a member for 3 years. I'm planning to be a member for a long time. And arrivederci e grazie from Italy. Mwah!
Thank you so much, Paolo. And with that, yes, I do want to mention real quick, and I shared it in our WhatsApp chat for our group. We've been a President's Distinguished Club for some time, and we remain in that status. As of today, we have all of the points and members that we needed to continue. And I'm so glad that under our leadership this year, we were able to make that happen and continue that President's Distinguished status. So share the word. I hope I see all of you again at some point in the future. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you, David Carr, for all the technology, info, education, and opportunities that he's given Club Awesome. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you next time. Have a good weekend.
Nice meeting everybody.